We come together every single Friday and we talk about trending health topics, and we just have a good old time. And Coach Carla, the transformation coach, or as y'all know what I call her, my personal Dr. Google, she gives us good information that we can take hold of and use to transform our lives. We are part of a healthy living community known as the Juice Plus community. We Juice Plus was introduced in the United States in 1993. However, we were the company back in 1970 known as NSA. We introduced smoke detectors in the US, and then we went into air filtration and water filtration. And as I said, in 1993, with a divine connection with Dr. Smokey Centillo and the Juice Plus crew, Juice Plus was born. Very simply, Juice Plus is whole food, real food that has been dehydrated, crushed into powder, and put into capsules. It's real food put in capsules, soft chews, shakes, bars, all that good time stuff. But I'm not going to be before you long because we want to hear what Dr. Carla is going to be sharing with us tonight. Carla, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. As usual, I have to say thank you for you to all of you for being here. And I want to say thank you to Ruthie for being the hostess with the mostest. That's my buddy. And I am so grateful that God put you in my life because you helped save my life. So why are we here today? Well, the information that I want to share with you is for your education. So please don't make changes to your medication or to your planned procedures without having conversations with your physician. You can take this information and share it with them. And I hope that you'll come back to doctor's orders because, as Ruth said, we're here every Friday night trying to have discussions about things that are important to health. I mean, you may remember that the last time you visited your physician, he gave you some information. The nurse or nurse practitioner may have gone over some of that with you. And that's what we call doctor's orders. It's information that you can use going forward to help with your health. But how many of us actually even know where that information is, or have ever read it, or know what it means? Well, that's why we do what we do. And today, we're going to be talking about something that everybody loves. I know there are a few of you who say, oh, it doesn't mean anything to me, but sugar. Sugar is so sweet, and as what is it that Mary Poppins said? A spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. So I'm gonna ask you, please don't be upset with me if what I have to share today is different from what you once believed. So why do we talk about sugar? Well, sugar has been associated with diabetes. In fact, the disease diabetes was once described as having just a little sugar. So, why is that important? Well, it is a really serious disease and excuse me, its incidence is growing in the United States. And in fact, it's expected that 1 in 4 people will soon be either pre diabetic or diabetic by the year 2050. Millions are being spent on healthcare for caring for diabetics. And there are now new drugs on the market to help people try to manage diabetes and the associated weight gain. There's a lot of pain and suffering. People have lost their vision. They've had amputations. They've had kidney failure and they've been on dialysis. They've had heart disease and strokes or heart attacks. And Alzheimer's is now called diabetes type 3 because of the connection between the symptoms and the insulin resistance associated with it. It is the number 7 cause of death if you don't connect it with heart disease and Alzheimer's. So, what is it? And I'm talking about sugar now. Um, Sugar is a 5 or 6 carbon compound that has a lot of OHs, oxygen and hydrogen. So it's carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen in a circular or chain configuration. In its simplest form, you've heard of glucose, and some of you may have heard of galactose. That's a simple one sugar. It's like one bead on a pearl, but it can come in doubles like sucrose, which is two glucose molecules, or fructose, which is a glucose molecule and a galactose molecule. And a lactose molecule, sorry. And there's um, there's lactose, which has galactose in it. And then there's maltose. I know it can get a little bit complicated, but think of it as complex sugars and simple sugars. So the simple sugars would be the things like the glucose, the sucrose, the fructose, the galactose. And the complex ones would be things like starch or glycogen or fiber. You've heard of cellulose. And all of them, where do they come from? Well, I'm glad you asked. They really all come from plants. And we may actually think of them in terms of something called calories, because sugar is the basic unit that your body uses to get energy out of food. But your body can get energy from proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. So when you look at something and you see how many calories are associated with it, some of those calories can be from the sugars, but some of it is going to be from proteins and fats, because all cells have carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Some cells just have more of one or the other. Another place that we can get sugar is from sweetened beverages. If you've ever had a sweetened beverage, let me see your hand. You can raise your hand or put a one in the chat. And you can also get them from desserts or sugary snacks or junk food. Okay, if you've had desserts or snacks or junk food, you can put a two in the chat. See, I'm protecting you. You don't have to say whether it's desserts or junk food. Just put a two in the chat. Now, when we think about where we get sugar from, many times we think of a white crystal that's in a bowl on the table. And we think about, if you drink tea or coffee, we think of scooping that into our tea or coffee. Or if you grew up in the old days, as I did, you made a jug of juice and you poured the sugar in. Well, that sugar came from a plant. It either came from cane sugar or it came from beet sugar. So these vegetables or fruits or stems are crushed, and the liquid that came out of it was very sweet. But they had to crystallize it so that they can transport it. So they chemically treated it in an attempt to create the crystals that we now know as sugar. Um, but you can get sugar from whole foods like fruit. Um, in fact, things like passion fruit, kiwis, peaches, apricots, cherries, cranberries, and strawberries, they run the gamut of being high caloric, like 500 calories per pound to 100 calories per pound. Or you can get sugar from starchy vegetables like yucca. We call it cassava. Or yams. Yucca is 732 calories per pound, while a squash could be 200 calories per pound, and carrots about 186. You can get it from intact whole grains like wheat, about 600 calories per pound, brown rice, similar, quinoa, and amaranth, coming in at about 400 calories per pound. But you can also get it from non starchy vegetables like beets, 200 calories a pound, even though beets were actually used to make sugar table sugar that we know about. Brussels sprouts, eggplants, bok choy has about 58 calories per pound, but cabbages about 104. And you can also get sugar in beans. Chickpeas has about 745 calories per pound, while split peas is about 535 calories per pound. Now, why did I go through that? Because, as I said, oh, and by the way, leafy greens, you can get sugars there too. Um, for example, seaweed and parsley about 195, and lettuces about 60 to 70. Why is that so important? Two things. As I mentioned before, your body uses sugar as the primary unit to convert into energy. Your cells use sugar to convert into energy. And whether that energy comes from a protein, a carbohydrate, or fat, it still has to be broken down into a sugar. And so, where you get your sugar is very important. If you are eating things that are low in calories, they don't fill you up, and your body makes you eat more. So, if you can find high calorie foods that will fill you up and that are nutrient rich as well, then that can provide your body with what it needs to live, to function, and most important, to repair itself. Now, part of the controversy of sugar, why does it actually even matter? Well, research suggests that there's a direct correlation about the amount of sugar that you eat and health problems, whether it's weight gain, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, autoimmune conditions, all because a lot of sugar intake is associated with an increased inflammation. And they found that when people reduced the amount of sugar that they took in, it reduced their health problems. Again, weight, heart disease, heart conditions, risk of cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, and autoimmune conditions, because the amount of sugar is proportional to reducing the sugar is resulted in a proportional reduction in inflammation. So is it what kind of sugar are we talking about? Are we talking about spoonfuls of the white stuff? I call it the other white powder. Or are we talking about sugar from the fruits and vegetables, the grains, the beans, and the leafy greens that I just listed? Or are we talking about sugar from desserts, snacks, junk food, and sugar sweetened beverages? Where you get your sugar from matters. You see, if you're getting sugar from sweetened beverages, from desserts, from snacks, and from junk food, you are getting the sugar that triggers inflammation. But the research shows that if you're getting your sugar from fruit, starchy vegetables, intact whole grains, from peas and beans, from non-starchy vegetables, from leafy greens, that sugar actually reduces the risk of all those health conditions that I talked about, reduces weight gain, and reduces even the progression of those diseases, whether it's heart disease, cancer, um, high blood sugar, high diabetes risk, Alzheimer's, and autoimmune conditions. So let's just take a step back. What are we going to do? What what is it the next step? Well, if we look at some communities that were eating things like rice, before the 1980s, we will see that those communities had very low incidence of the diseases we've been talking about. And when in the 1980s, when the standard American diet was imported into those countries, their risk and their incidence of heart disease, cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, and autoimmune conditions rose and matched, and in some cases, even exceeds those of the United States. So it's really very important that we understand where we are supposed to get the sugar. Because remember, sugar is what your body uses. It's got to get that sugar. It's an essential nutrient. It's how your body creates energy. So, what do we have to do? We have to make the decision to make some changes. And one simple change goes a long way. When I was in training to become a health coach, they told me that small hinges move big doors. And so one simple change at a time can make a big difference. Where would you see yourself starting? Well, the first thing is awareness. And I'm so glad that you're here because that is a first step in the right direction. You see, understanding that sugar is an essential nutrient, but understanding that where it comes from matters gives you now the power to do something significant. Make choices. If you are taking sweetened drinks, desserts, snacks, and eating junk food, you now have a place that you can start. You can look at how can you reduce the intake of these things because they are associated in terms of the research with inflammation and the health concerns that we want to get rid of. So this is your opportunity to make a one simple change. Many people have actually started using the six pillars of health by adding water and walking, sleeping more, de-stressing, detoxing their environment. But the biggest thing that you can do is eat whole food, plant-based. As I mentioned earlier, the fruits, the vegetables, even the starchy vegetables, the grains, the non starchy vegetables, and the green leafy vegetables, the more you add of those to your eating plan, the more you'll be giving your body the glucose, the sugar, the good sugar that it needs because that sugar comes with phytonutrients. These are the things we once were taught about vitamins and minerals. Well, it turns out that it's not just 17 vitamins and 12 minerals. There are tens of thousands of phytonutrients in the plants, in each plant. And so the sugar is combined with phytonutrients. The other thing that's in the sugar that is in the plant is the fiber. In fact, the sugar is broken off from the fiber. And if the sugar is combined with the fiber in the whole plant, then it's actually going to do your body good and lower inflammation and reduce the risk to all these diseases. This research is life changing. And so it means that you have an opportunity to make some decisions that could transform your life. And we're also here to help you because for many of us, we're wondering, well, okay, where do we even start? I'm so glad that you asked. You know, our company, the company with which we are affiliated, the Juice Plus Company, has a way to help you bridge the gap between what you're eating right now and what you need to eat to be able to give your body what it needs to heal itself. So, how is that going to work? Well, the person who invited you can also provide you with information about our Reset 2025. We'll be starting in January so that you can have access to a program that will help you step by step add more fruits and vegetables to your eating plan. You can do this with our support and with the support of the Juice Plus products. How does that work? Well, we are connected with growers who grow fruits and vegetables in pristine conditions without herbicides or pesticides, and many of them are multi-generational farmers, and they grow these fruits and vegetables and they don't pick them until they are completely ripe. So in that last ripening process there are new phytochemicals produced that are very powerful, and that when they are picked, they are flash frozen and crushed as soon as possible to lock in those nutrients. And then they are concentrated into capsules. So it means that in addition to you eating more fruits and vegetables because of the decisions that you're making, we can help you add even more. We can bridge that gap because it's challenging for us to get 7 to 13 servings of fruits, vegetables, grains, peas and beans, those starchy vegetables, those non-starchy vegetables, those leafy greens. So the Juice Plus helps you bridge that gap. And because our concentrated fruits and vegetables, they're not they're not um, they are not processed, they are just concentrated, you can be confident that when you're eating your capsules, you're getting 30 fruits and vegetables in addition to what you're also eating. And we have a third party of NSF comes in and batch tests it so that you can be sure that what's on the label is actually in the capsules and there's nothing toxic in those capsules. So why is all of this so important? It's important because we need support on our journey. And with our Restart 25, you can get specific guidelines to help you on your journey. You will get support and you'll also get accountability. It's like a three-sided triangle to make sure that you get what you need to reach your health goals. Now, we've talked a lot about um, what is in sugar and what it can do and where we can get it and where's the best place to get it. And we've talked also about how we can help you on your health journey, because even though sugar is the topic of this evening's discussion, we want to help you with lifestyle changes because we want it to have long term and we want it to last. We want the changes to last. So we hope that what you've heard today has been helpful. Keep in mind that you can make a decision to reduce the sources of sugar that cause inflammation, like sugar sweetened drinks or desserts. You can cut back on that and you can add more fruits and vegetables. And we're here to help you do that. So if you have questions or you want to jumpstart and reset your 2025, then put your put a 5 in the chat and we'll get back to you so that we can help you get started, get registered, and jumpstart your new year. And you can get sugar the right way. So, any questions before we go?
I have a question,
Yes.
because I often see people, excuse me, using um, like the artificial, the pink, the blue, the yellow, and they think, well, I'm using this, so that's better than using the white stuff. What is your input on that?
Well, very often we very often we use things to help us transition from one from a bad habit or bad situation to something that's better. But here's the problem. Many of these sugar substitutes are chemicals that aren't really helpful to our bodies. So, as you are making decisions to move away from not so healthy sources of sugar, you can do things like sweeten your tea with less sugar. You can start reducing the amount of sugar, and you can also sweet, add fruit flavors to your water so that you can improve the taste. So I a lot of the sugar substitutes are not healthy for us, and so we should try to avoid that. Some people use it for a short time to try to transition, but it might be better to just avoid all of these substitutes.
And like with my husband, we use stevia because that's a plant and it's supposed to be better. So we use the organic non-GMO stevia to help him sweeten up his stuff without using the other things that are not even, they're just chemicals.
Well,
So,
yeah, if you're using a plant, then it's possibly much better. So stevia, agave, things like that. But again, you want to try to train yourself away because a lot of it is a habit. And we've got our taste buds used to things that are very, very sweet. But fruit are usually sweet. So if you can use agave and if you can use stevia, that's fine. Some people, they're sensitive to the taste of stevia. But if you can use a fruit to sweeten your meals, and some people like honey, so you can use that. But again, you want to use the best. You want to try to use something that's local, and you want to try to use um, something that's organic. Use the best that you can afford. I hope that was helpful.
it was very helpful. Thank you so much.
Anyone else? You're welcome. Okay. Well, just keep in mind that your body does need sugar, but where it comes from matters. And here is a final piece. When we eat starchy foods, if we eat it with fat or animal products, that actually spikes our glucose levels. So, people who are transitioning and want to improve their glucose tolerance, they can eat more fruits and vegetables and starchy fruits. But if they eat it with fats or they eat it with animal products, it's going to spike their glucose levels. They're going to think it's sugars, but the research shows that if you keep the animal products and the fats low, that your body will use the plant sources of the sugars and it'll be able to stay within a good glucose control. People are actually getting better and better glucose control by using those fruits and vegetables and leafy greens to satisfy their their need for meals. Any
Awesome.
additional questions? So what should you eat with the rice? Vegetables.
What
You can
about
eat
beans?
you can eat beans, you can eat vegetables, you can eat fruit. You can saute the fruit. You can make salads. You can make soups with fruit and vegetables. Yeah, you can eat. Lots of things with the rice, beans, leafy vegetables, the starchy vegetables as well. And oh,
Awesome.
by the way, you will have access to some recipes during the Reset 2025. So that's a good place that we can support you with that. And anyone who's part of our team, we'd also be happy to give you access to some websites that have some great recipes.
All righty.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening. This is Coach Carla Joy saying, I'm going to stop the recording.